Hey guys, Jay here, welcome to EonsOfBattle, and today I'm going to do a build and review of the PromethiumForge Vertical Chem Tank Kit. PromethiumForge is a company that makes MDF laser cut terrain for tabletop wargames. Here are the supplies I'll be using. So the first thing I did was I used a number 24 hobby blade to help cut out all of the pieces from the sprue. Now, I wouldn't suggest using your normal number 11 hobby knife for this, just because you're applying a fair bit of pressure and you may end up snapping a number 11 blade just because they get so thin, but I find that the number 24 is a good fit for this task. Once I had all my parts removed from the sprue, I used some 100 grit sandpaper to sand down all of the connection spots, just so that these wouldn't come up during painting. I began working on the top part of the can. I used a round waist piece that matched up with the top of the tank. I added that to add a little bit of height to the top of the can, just so that I can offset it a little bit, just to vary up the height of the door. Then I began working on the staircase. I'm going to be making a bunch of 2-step units, and this is just going to help cut down on the hassle of trying to keep all the parts together while they're drying. I'm going to be using wood glue for all of my connections for the MDF. And so once I had 6 of my 2-step units done, I began working on the top and bottom step. On the bottom step, I glued on the last toggle, and then on one of my 6 2-step units, I glued on the extra connection piece. Once those pieces were dry, I then glued all of those 2x2s together to form the complete staircase. Then I took my aluminum can, and just to make sure that I got proper adhesion between the superglue and the MDF and the metal, I sandpapered off all of the paint from the can. Now, to make it easier to get the paint off, I sandpapered it before I had opened the can. I then attached the top plate. I used a little bit of super thin superglue. The nice thing about using very thin superglue is it actually is thin enough to use capillary action, and so the glue actually sucks itself into any crack it can find. And then I used some normal super glue to glue on the top plate. I used a little bit more super glue to attach the top of my staircase onto the can. And then once that top connection was dry, I then used a little bit more super glue to attach the bottom. Now, the bottom I had to apply a fair bit of pressure to help the staircase take the shape of the can. And then once the superglue had begun to set up, I used a little bit of baking soda as a catalyst to help finish off the drying of the superglue. I then went in with super thin superglue, and I added it to any of the steps that made contact with the aluminum can. This is just going to strengthen the staircase in general. Then I used a little bit more wood glue to start adding on the hand railing to the step units. I then began adding my hand railings. I put on the 2 end pieces first. And then once I had my end pieces attached, I then tried to figure out my middle. Once I had my middle toggle where I was happy with it, I then placed the remaining toggles in between this middle toggle and the end toggles. I then attached the top railing piece. I dry fit it in place just so that I could fiddle with it and make sure that it was in the proper place, and then I put on my wood glue to seal it in place. Then, to add a little bit of decoration, I took some thin drinking straws. I marked out the basic length that I needed them to be. And then I used some of the 2 2-hole brackets that come with the kit. I slid them into place. And then I placed them on the can where I wanted them to be. I used some superfine super glue to attach the brackets to the can. And then later I used some scissors to trim the straws to the proper length. Then I used a little bit of Elmer's glue to hold the straws in place, and the reason I switched from wood glue to Elmer's glue is just because the Elmer's glue has a little bit more flex to it, and so it'll do a better job holding the soft straws in place. And that is the finished vertical chem tank. This kit is a little bit more tedious than the horizontal chem tank, but I think it has a really, really unique look to it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, you can leave a comment if you have any ideas or techniques you'd like to see us do. You can follow us on Facebook at EOBFans, and you can follow us on Twitter at EonsOfBattle. Thanks for watching.